Lena gripped the edge of her desk, her knuckles white as she stared at the email on her screen. The subject line alone was enough to send a shiver down her spine. Final approval for Greenway development, construction to begin immediately. The developers had gotten their way. It was over. The ancient forest she had spent the last 2 years trying to save, the one that was rumored to house rare species no one had catalogued, the one her organization had fought for, would soon be lost forever. Her boss Sarah walked in just as Lena stared blankly at the screen. "I'm sorry, Lena," Sarah said, her voice laced with disappointment. "But it's over. We did everything we could. You gave it your all, but money talks." Lena's heart pounded. Her hands shook. She wasn't going to let it go like this. Not after everything. "It's not over," she whispered, almost to herself. "I'll find another way." Sarah sighed and shook her head, turning to leave. "You don't get it, do you? You can't win against corporate power. They'll bulldoze that forest with or without us." But Lena was already focused. She stood up, knocking over a cup of coffee in her haste. It spilled across the desk, the dark liquid creeping toward the edge, but Lena didn't care. She had a plan. A plan so crazy, so desperate, that it might just work. A loophole. A tiny, almost unnoticed legal loophole. It had been 3 sleepless nights, scrolling through legal documents and environmental reports, when Lena found it. A clause in a long-forgotten conservation law, buried deep within an old contract, stated that undeveloped land of historical significance, especially home to endangered species, cannot be altered without a thorough review by the Department of Environmental Protection. The problem was, no one had applied this clause in over 50 years. And it wasn't until Lena started investigating that she realized it could be the key to stopping the development. Her eyes widened in disbelief when she saw the document's timestamp. "This could work," she muttered, frantically typing up an email to her colleagues, her excitement palpable. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Lena recruited a small army of volunteers, students, fellow activists, even an old lawyer who had a reputation for finding flaws in legal loopholes. Each person she brought on board believed in her vision, but none of them truly understood the scope of the fight they were about to face. The developers, meanwhile, seemed oblivious to the storm about to hit them. But Lena had a secret weapon now. She wasn't going down without a fight. Lena stormed into the town hall meeting, feeling the eyes of the community on her. She had just handed the town council a stack of papers that could change everything. They looked skeptical at best, dismissive at worst. "Miss Lane, I don't see how this applies," the mayor said, adjusting his glasses and flipping through the documents. "This looks like old legal mumbo-jumbo, nothing substantial." Lena stood tall. "This is your town's last chance to preserve something irreplaceable. I've already sent the information to the state. They have no choice but to look into it." One of the council members, a middle-aged man named Gregory, frowned. "And what if you're wrong? What if this just drags us through more legal delays? We'll be stuck in limbo forever." Lena's eyes blazed with determination. "I'll take that risk. You have to trust me." Before Gregory could respond, a loud voice echoed from the back of the room. "What the hell is going on here, Lena?" It was Jason, the lead developer of the Greenway project. He had a reputation for being slick, persuasive, and ruthless. But Lena wasn't intimidated. Not anymore. "You're wasting your time, Lena," Jason sneered, walking toward her. "There's nothing you can do to stop this. The land is ours now, and we're building on it." Lena felt a surge of adrenaline. "Not if I have anything to say about it." Jason's smirk deepened. "We'll see about that." The next morning, Lena was jolted awake by the sound of a loud crash outside her apartment. She threw on her clothes and rushed outside, only to find a construction vehicle had run into the streetlight right outside her building. "That's weird," she muttered to herself. "There shouldn't be any construction vehicles near here yet." She rushed to the scene where she was greeted by a few workers scratching their heads. "This is going to delay everything," one of them groaned. Lena's curiosity piqued, but before she could ask more, a black SUV pulled up. Out stepped Jason, his grin widening when he saw her. "Accidents happen," he said, his voice dripping with mock sympathy. "You should take care of yourself, Lena. It's not good to be out here in the middle of all this." Lena stared at him, suspicion rising. Was this an accident or was it sabotage? Just when Lena thought she was running out of options, an unexpected ally appeared. Amelia, a former corporate lawyer who had left the industry after a moral crisis, reached out to Lena. She had heard about the battle and wanted to help. "I don't agree with everything you're doing, Lena," Amelia said over coffee, "but I believe in your cause. I've seen how corporations operate behind the scenes. They'll stop at nothing, and I think I know a way to hit them where it hurts." Her plan? To expose the company's ties to shady politicians and illegal lobbying efforts. Lena felt a surge of hope. Amelia's knowledge could be the game changer they needed. They immediately began gathering evidence, knowing that their timing had to be perfect. As the pressure mounted, the developers launched their first counterattack, a viral smear campaign. News outlets were flooded with articles claiming Lena had been mismanaging funds and taking donations from foreign groups with unclear intentions. They even hinted that her fight wasn't really about saving the forest, but about making a name for herself. Lena was stunned. "This is ridiculous," she muttered, pacing around her apartment as the news anchors discussed the allegations. Her phone buzzed with messages from her supporters, all asking if the rumors were true. "Do you want to respond to the claims, Lena?" one text read. Lena slumped into her chair, frustration boiling inside her. How could they possibly fight back against something like this? Then it hit her. She didn't need to defend herself. She just had to expose the truth. Lena and Amelia dove into the corporate ties of Greenway Development. They uncovered a scandalous web of illegal lobbying, backdoor deals, and corporate bribes aimed at securing the construction deal. With Amelia's legal knowledge and Lena's determination, they managed to get the story into the hands of a prominent investigative journalist. Within days, it exploded across national media. Jason, however, wasn't going down without a fight. "This is all just a distraction," he yelled at a press conference, his face growing red with anger. "Lena Lane is nothing more than a publicity-hungry activist who will stop at nothing to get attention." But the public wasn't buying it anymore. The tides were turning. Just when Lena thought she was gaining ground, she received an anonymous tip-off. Someone inside her organization had been feeding information to Greenway. It didn't take long for her to realize it was Sarah, her boss. The same person who had told her to give up. The same person who had once said it was hopeless. You were working with them the whole time?" Lena confronted her, her voice breaking with disbelief. Sarah's face was unreadable. "You're too naive, Lena. Do you really think you could beat them? You're just a small fish in a big pond. I had to look out for myself." Lena felt her heart shatter, but she didn't let it show. "You sold out," she whispered, turning away from Sarah, leaving her behind. With Sarah gone and the media circus now in full swing, Lena pushed forward, her legal team rallying to file an emergency injunction against the developers. Tensions soared and the final showdown was near. The forest, now the center of a nationwide debate, became a battleground for everything Lena had fought for. Jason, desperate to move forward, made one last plea. "You're ruining everything, Lena. Think of the jobs, the economy, the people who want this development." Lena's eyes were steely, unwavering. "Think of the future. You can't buy that." The court ruling came down in Lena's favor. The land was granted protected status. The developers were forced to halt all construction. Lena stood before the towering trees of the forest she had saved, the air thick with the weight of her victory. It wasn't just the forest that had been preserved, it was a piece of herself too. But as she looked out over the forest, Lena knew this fight was far from over. The developers would regroup, and new battles would come, and she would be ready. But there was a cost. Jason's final words echoed in her ears, and the smile she had forced upon her lips faded as the haunting realization set in: the war for the environment was never truly won. It was a constant struggle. For now though, Lena had won the first round, and that was enough.